Hello, Ruby Hill. Welcome to your ELD lesson. This week we're going to keep talking about how we can stay safe by preventing injury and illness. Let's go ahead and get started with our Wednesday lesson. Our objective today is to use verb phrases. Verbs are actions, and the phrases, it's polite to, and that way, to explain how to be polite and safe in the classroom. We'll practice saying 2 sentences together to explain what is polite and why that helps us stay safe. We're going to start with our health and safety sound off, which we've been working on all week. Remember, it goes to the tune of the Hopkins cheer. I know different teachers do it a little bit differently, but we'll do our best. The goal is to repeat everything that I say. So I'll sing a part and then you sing the part just like I did right after me. Okay, let's start at the beginning. My turn first. Wear a jacket when it's cold. Wash your hands before you eat. Use a tissue when you sneeze. Drink water when you're thirsty. Stay safe, stay clean, healthy, living. Nice job, scholars. That's some good advice to stay safe and healthy. Today, we're going to give each other suggestions about how to stay safe inside a classroom. Let's think about some things that might happen in class or on the playground that could be unsafe. Here, I see some examples of what would be safe. Backpacks on their hooks, chairs pushed in, people standing apart from each other in line, leaving a space. Those are some ways to be safe. I know that if this wasn't the case, if we left all the backpacks on the floor, people might fall down or we might lose things. If we didn't push our chairs in, people might trip or get hurt. If we didn't leave spaces in the line, people might bump into each other and get hurt. I can see here we can say, "Excuse me," if that does happen. That's very polite and safe. I see here it says, "No running, just walking," when the bell is ringing. So that would be like when recess is over, it's much safer to walk to your line than to run. And then there's another one behind my camera here that says, "Look out." That's definitely a good way to be safe, to always look where you're going. Do you have any other ideas for ways we might stay safe in school? Nice ideas. Keep those in your mind as we work on our lesson today. One part of being healthy, which we've been talking about all month, is feeling safe. When you feel safe at school, you can be happy and healthy. It's important to be polite. That means you have good manners in the classroom. Being polite helps everyone keep safe and avoids hurt feelings. Let's look at some things you can do to have good manners. Wait your turn. Use polite words. Listen carefully. Cooperate with others. Show your appreciation and give compliments. Those are all some nice ways to be kind or polite to others and to help make sure everybody feels safe at school. We're going to practice using the pictures from our little poster, some ways we can be polite, respectful and kind, or safe at school. First, we'll just explain what's polite to do. We can say, "It's polite to," and then we'll give our verb phrase, or the action that would be polite. It's is a contraction of it is. We can say, "It is polite to," or "It's polite to." They mean the same thing. That apostrophe is where we put the letter that we squeezed out. The I and is got replaced by the apostrophe when we contracted the 2 words into one. My turn first. It's polite to say, "Excuse me," when you bump into someone. That's a long sentence. Let's say it all together. Get ready, go. It's polite to say excuse me when you bump into someone. I see our conjunction when that tells what we should do and connects it to the time we should do it. When you bump into someone, that's when it's polite to say excuse me. Our friend in the picture is even saying oops to show it was an accident. They didn't mean to do it, but just because it's an accident doesn't mean it's okay. They're still saying excuse me, which means I'm sorry, can you please forgive me for doing that? Okay. Instead of saying excuse me, we could also say sorry. We can apologize to let them know that we didn't mean for that to happen or we regret that it happened. My turn first. It's polite to say sorry when you bump into someone. Your turn. Again, our conjunction when is joining what we should do with the time we should do it. When you bump into someone, it's polite to say sorry. We can flip our sentence actually by putting this part first. When you bump into someone, it's polite to say sorry. Our sentence can go either way. Here we see our nice, safe line. We know that it's not polite to get too close to someone in line. Someone might trip and fall down. It might make someone feel unsafe or uncomfortable, and it's definitely not the polite way to stand. We can say, it's polite to leave space in front of you in line. We can see right here that this friend did not get so close to this friend, they left space in front. This friend left a space in front of him and didn't get in this girl's personal space. Your turn. It's polite to leave space in front of you in line. It's also polite to line up one at a time. We've seen it at recess when we all run to the front of the line at the same time and people get bumped or they get cut or people get upset. That's no good. We can always just walk to the back of wherever the line is and join the line one at a time. My turn first. It's polite to line up one at a time. Your turn. It's polite to line up one at a time. One at a time here tells us how we should line up, which makes it an adverb. It's describing our action. When you give advice to your friends, it's always helpful to explain why. We want our friends to know we're trying to help them be safe and polite, not just being bossy and telling them what to do. We can use two sentences to do this. First, we explain what's polite, and then we explain why that would be helpful. It's polite to say excuse me when you bump into someone. That way, he or she, in this picture, it's a she, that way she knows it was an accident. We want the friend to know we didn't mean to do that. So when we say excuse me or when we apologize, it helps them know it was an accident and that we care. Let's practice saying the two sentences together, all together. Get ready, go. It's polite to say excuse me when you bump into someone. That way, she knows it was an accident. Accident means you didn't do it on purpose. Like we said before, you could say excuse me or you could say sorry. It's polite to say sorry when you bump into someone. That way, she knows it was an accident. Your turn. It's polite to say sorry when you bump into someone. That way, she knows it was an accident. We're using she because in the picture, the student getting bumped into is a girl. If it were a boy, we could use he. We already talked about how leaving space in the line is important. The reason why is so that you won't bump into others and no one will get hurt. My turn first. It's polite to leave space in front of you in line. That way, you won't bump into someone. Your turn to say both sentences out loud. Get ready, go. Nice job, scholars. This is some really good advice about how to be polite. One more, we talked about lining up one at a time, which just means going to your own space in the line instead of all rushing to the front. My turn. It's polite to line up one at a time. That way, you won't cut in front of anyone. Anyone is a really good pronoun we can use to talk about any person in a group. We're not talking about a specific person, but any one of the people could be referenced with this pronoun. Let's say both sentences all together. It's polite to line up one at a time. That way, you won't cut in front of anyone. What else can we do to be safe and polite in our classroom? If you have a friend or family member nearby, tell them something you can do to be safe or polite at school. Nice ideas. I know one thing I can do polite is to always say thank you when someone holds a door for me or does me a favor. When someone says thank you to me, I can say you're welcome. That's one way to be polite, but there are lots of other ways. Now that we've talked about being polite, which means you're kind and respectful, we're going to talk about being safe. Being safe means you don't get hurt because you're making good choices. When we want to tell someone to be safe, we can say it's a good idea to We're letting them know that this would be a good thing to do to help people be safe. We know that if we leave our backpack on the floor, someone might trip on it, our things might get lost, or someone could get hurt. Because of that, we can say, it's a good idea to hang up your backpack. Your turn. It's a good idea to hang up your backpack. When all of the backpacks are on the hook, we can be safe. Remember, after we give advice, it's a good idea to we explain why it's a good idea using that way. That way, no one will trip on it. Your turn. Here's another great way to be safe. This is advice we can give. It's a good idea to push in your chair. Your turn. Think about why that would be good advice. How does that help us stay safe? That way, no one will walk into it. Your turn. If we leave our chair out in the middle of the classroom, someone might get hurt. They might get bruises or they might fall down. Or if there's a fire drill or something dangerous, it makes it harder for us to get out of the room safely. If we push in our chair, we can be safe. It's a good idea to walk to class after recess. Remember, the child who's walking is doing a good job, but the child who's running, they put the red circle that means no, don't do this. We want people to walk to class after recess. That way, you won't run into anyone. When we're running all in the same direction, it's so easy for kids to bump into each other and fall down and get hurt. But if we walk safely, we can make sure that we don't run into each other. Let's say both sentences together. Get ready, go. It's a good idea to walk to class after recess. That way, you won't run into anyone. Nice job, scholars. We're going to add on to our song with some of our language from today's lesson, ways we can be polite and safe at school, and then we'll do a little more practice. Remember, after I sing a verse, you sing the same thing, just like Hopkins cheer. Let's line up one at a time so we can stay safe in line. Let's push our chairs all the way in. That way no one trips on them. Stay safe, stay clean, healthy living. Nice job, scholars. That's a fun song that can remind us how to be safe at school. Okay, we're going to practice a few more times before you head towards your exit ticket. Remember, we can use these charts to build sentences. First, we pick an action that is polite. Then, we pick a reason that matches it. It wouldn't make sense for me to say, it's polite to say excuse me when you bump into someone. That way, you won't bump into someone. That wouldn't make sense because if we do bump into someone here, it didn't keep us from bumping into them. So make sure you're choosing an action that matches the reason. My turn first. It's polite to say excuse me when you bump into someone. That way, she knows it was an accident. Your turn to come up with a different sentence using our chart. I already used this action. You choose a different one. Say your sentence, get ready, go. Nice work. There are lots of sentences you could have chosen. We could say, it's polite to line up one at a time. That way, you won't bump into someone. We could say, it's polite to leave space in front of you in line. That way, you won't cut in front of anyone. We also could have matched lining up one at a time with not cutting, or leaving space with not bumping into someone. We also had great ideas about being safe. Think about which actions match which reasons. Would we say, it's a good idea to walk to class? That way, no one will walk into it. That didn't make sense. We could say, it's a good idea to push in your chair. That way, no one will walk into it. What's another sentence we could say using the language on this slide? Your turn, get ready, go. Nice work. We could say, it's a good idea to walk to class. That way, you won't run into anyone. We could say, it's a good idea to hang up your backpack. That way, no one will trip on it. When you do head to your exit ticket today, second graders, you're going to be asked to write 2 sentences in each section. First, you explain the action, then you explain the reason. Please read the directions so you know how to do 2 sentences in each section and not just 1. You will have these same charts on your exit ticket to help you. If you're in first grade, I challenge you to still write these sentences down on paper. You guys did a great job with your lesson today. Second graders, head back to Google Classroom to do your exit ticket and do your very best work with 2 sentences per section to give an action and a reason why that's polite or safe. When you're at home, I know we're not in the classroom right now, be thinking about ways you can be safe and polite at home and share them with your family. Great work today, Ruby Hill. We'll see you guys tomorrow.